The Hello Kitty murder case is a very dark, very disturbing case, so viewer discretion is advised as always. Now, the Hello Kitty murder case took place in Hong Kong in the spring of 1999, when a nightclub hostess was abducted in Lai Yu Estate, where the victim was tortured and R-worded in an apartment in Tsum Sha Tsui after stealing a wallet owned by one of her frequent customers. Fan Man Yi was held captive by 3 men and 1 girl before dying between April 14th and April 15th in the year 1999. Her body was found decapitated and a skull was found inside a Hello Kitty mermaid plush, which gave the name for the murder. Born in 1976 in Shenzhen, Fan Man Yi was abandoned by a family as a child, resulting in her being raised in an all-girls orphanage in Matsu Wai. When she turned 15, she was also told to leave the orphanage because the orphanage had an age restriction. After she left the orphanage, she became homeless and also addicted to substances. Now, Fan was forced into the streets of pleasure until the age of 21. Because she ended up working at a brothel named Romance Villa. Now, the Romance Villa was located in Sham Shui Po, and Fan eventually married one of her clients, which also was a fellow substance addict. Now, his name was Chi Yon. Fast forwarding a bit, she gave birth to their son 2 years later in approximately November 1998, not long before her murder. The couple and the child formerly lived in Mongkok. Fan's husband was also described as abusive, and the neighbors would report being woken up by sounds of the couple's fights and the child screaming and also crying from their apartment. Now, upon the pregnancy and then the birth of a child, Fan decided to turn her life around in order to protect her son and provide for him in a safer life. She ended up quitting the substances that she was addicted to, and also she left the life of pleasure. And after all of that, she ended up getting a job as a hostess at a nightclub named Empress Karaoke Club, and she eventually left her violent husband shortly before her murder. Due to these sacrifices, she had a much lower income and struggled to support herself and the family. Chan Man Lok, a 33-year-old Huxing Wu triad member who had problematic behavior since middle school and previous convictions for substance trafficking. Now, he was one of Fan's regular clients at the brothel. In early 1999, Fan also stole Chan's wallet, which contained about 4,000 Hong Kongese dollars. It's about $500. And when Chan realized what had happened, he demanded Fan to return the money in addition to a fee of 10,000 Hong Kongese dollars. Although Fan immediately returned the stolen money, she needed more time to secure the additional funds. And on March 17, 1999, Fan was abducted by 3 men and 1 girl at the flat in Fu Yu section of Lai Yu Estate. Now, Chan and the group took Fan to an apartment at number 31 Granville Road, where they ended up imprisoning her for a month. The apartment was rented by Chan himself, but was owned by 2 men, referred to as Ah Sam and Ah Kao, who were not involved in gang activities. Initially, Chan had intended to make money off of Fan by pumping her out to other men. Now, during her imprisonment, she was tortured and again R-worded, according to one source. She was beaten with metal bars, sometimes while being strung up and used as a punching bag. Now, on one occasion, Fan was kicked in the head around 50 times. Spices was also used to be rubbed into Fan's wounds, and then she was also burned on her feet and her legs with candle wax and hot plastic. They did this so that she was unable to walk, and she was also forced to consume human feces and also urine. They also forced her to smile and to say that she enjoyed the beatings they gave her, and if she refused, they subjected her to even harsher torture. All of this treatment she received eventually led to traumatic shock, and ultimately she passed on. Now, Fan succumbed to her wounds between April 14th or April 15th in 1999. Some sources claim that she died while the captors were out, while others say she died overnight. Now, upon the discovery of Fan's body, her captives have dismembered and boiled the remains. Her skull was also sewed inside of the Hello Kitty doll, filled with dead insects, while the rest of her body was discarded. Only her skull, one tooth, and some internal organs were recovered in a plastic bag after someone led the police to the scene on May 24th. Now, 3 police officers arrived at the scene in the first time, and they were the first officers to arrive at the scene, when other parts were recovered from trash dumps in Sham Shui Po, Wan Chai, and also Tai Kok Tsui. At the time of the arrest, Chan was living with his wife and his newborn baby at an apartment at Shek Lai Estate. The apartment was also raided by SWAT officers on the early morning hours of May 28th. Chan's wife was also first suspected to be involved in this murder, but she was quickly released after no evidence was found. After finding out that the murder made it to the media, on a local news report, one of the perpetrators fled to mainland China, before he got caught by the police on February the 14th, 2000. The only reason he was caught was because of the irregularities that were found on his passport. Prior to the arrest, he was also put on Interpol's most wanted list. And then he was sent back to Hong Kong on February the 17th for trial. Fan's skull ended up being identified on June the 3rd after using a photo overlapping method. On December the 7th, 2000, after a trial which started on October the 20th, the 3 men were convicted of manslaughter with a vote of 6.3, as the 8-man and 1-woman jury ruled the remains were not sufficient to show whether Fan was murdered or died from a drug overdose. While the jury could not rule that the men intended to kill Fan, they did determine that she had died as a result from their abuse. They sentenced the trio life in prison with the possibility of parole, stated, "Never in Hong Kong in recent years has a court heard of such cruelty, depravity, callousness, brutality, violence, and viciousness." This really is one of those cases that really just turns your stomach upside down.